Well, hey there, Southern Oregon. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. So glad you could join us again on this weekend before the holidays. Everybody's getting ready to spend time with their friends and family. And today we're so happy to have Tiffany Wilkerson from John L Scott Real Estate. She's the general manager of Ashland, Medford, and Eugene. Tiffany Wilkerson is our fearless leader, and she's going to come on the show and help kind of wrap up talking about what's happened in 2022. It was such a big year. So many things happened coming out of the hyper accelerated housing market from last year and into the beginning of this year, and all the interest rate changes. We still have the war going on, lots and lots of inflation and economic uncertainty. But here we are at the end of the year, and people are still successfully moving, buying and selling houses, actually in a somewhat easier fashion now because the market's not quite such an arm wrestling match to get a house. And the sellers are doing well because they still have plenty of equity, even though the prices are down a little bit. We are still up for the year in all three counties. So we're going to talk to Tiffany not only about what happened in 2022, have some predictions and some discussion about what's coming in 2023, and just some other John L. Scott news in general. So it'll be fun to have Tiffany Wilkerson join us here in just a minute. Let's take a quick second and talk about the local statistics, always a fun part of the show. So Jackson County this week is still days on market, about 2 months. We're at 51 average days on market in Jackson County. Josephine County is cycling at 58 days average on market to sell a home. And Josephine County, 58, and Klamath County is 51. So everybody's still hanging around that 2-month mark. Just a reminder, 4 to 6 months is considered more normal, neutral. 2 months is still a little bit fast, but it depends on what price point you're in, because some of the higher price markets are a bona fide buyer's market, and the lower price point, you still might have to arm wrestle a little bit, but it's not like it was 6 months ago or a year ago where everybody was overpaying, not having inspections, all that going on. It's now a little bit easier, and it's easier for everybody. And the sellers now have more inventory to choose from. When they sell, they have a place to go. So it's actually becoming a little more normal. So that's it for the stats. Let's bring Tiffany Wilkerson on here right after a quick break from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to the Real Estate Show, folks. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lema. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. And today we get to talk to one of my favorite people in the whole world, Tiffany Wilkerson, the general manager and chief boobah at John L. Scott. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Alice. Thank you so much for having me. I love the show.
Well, thank you. We're so blessed to have you at our helm here at John L. Scott. And it's so good to have you here kind of at the end of the year. It's been such a volatile year. Why don't you give us your perspective on just what it's been like since January?
Well, I think there's a lot of different perspectives and ways that we can look at it. The market in general in life is uncertain, and you never know what it's going to look like. I think the beginning of 2020, for instance, when we experienced COVID, and we weren't sure what that was going to, what kind of impact that would have on the market. We had no idea, and I think a lot of us had the similar feeling as we do now. Everything was uncertain. How is this going to pan out? What are we going to see in the next couple of months? And however, what did we end up seeing? 2020 and 2021 were some of the best years in real estate that we had seen for quite some time. I think historically, we've always seen a 10-year cycle where every 10 years we start seeing, adjustments in the market, and, we start seeing some really interesting patterns occur. And I think ultimately what we're seeing right now, again, is that 10-year cycle taking place. So there is some market corrections right now. I think, in the past years, especially in December, we've always seen a much slower market, but it's just how you look at it. No matter what, people are going to have to move. No matter what, people are going to have to relocate. The top 5 reasons people are moving right now are clearly real life situations, jobs, families, income, different things that might factor into that. And so there's opportunity for everybody if they need to enter the market. It just depends on, if you're a buyer or if you're a seller and what that looks like. So I think, overall, there's a lot of ways that we can kind of support our clients and support the community and educate them properly, because you read the news and you see everything on TV, and of course we're going to see doom and gloom. And I think we also saw that in 2020, but that ended up proving us wrong. So moving into 2023, I think we're going to see a decrease in mortgage rate interest rates. I think that come March and April, I think that there's some opportunity for people, especially buyers, investors. I mean, they need to be taking advantage of these low pricing that you're seeing here. And, again, it's like that fun saying, date the rate, marry the house.
That is such a great saying. And, it's so interesting. The pandemic did confuse the market, and it confused a lot of us, and it kind of messed with our normal rhythm, especially in Southern Oregon, because we're somewhat seasonal. So where are we in the 10-year cycle? Where are we in that?
I think right now we're in this 2022 was where we saw the market adjustment,
Okay.
a big adjustment and everything. So I think now what we're going to see is the market start to correct itself.
Okay.
So, we saw a major adjustment, and now we're going to see the market correct itself. So, I mean, you have to also think about, what that market was like for, agents and our clients and the community in 2020 and 2021. I mean, we're talking multiple offers, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 over price, the asking price. We're seeing people waiving inspections. I mean, things that honestly we would have never recommended as real estate professionals were occurring. And so it had to correct itself eventually. There was going to come a time where things needed to be adjusted. And I think right now we're seeing a very, intense adjustment, especially going into December and January. And then beyond that, what we're going to start seeing is where it's going to start correcting itself. So I think that, personally, what I think is going to happen is I think come March and April, I think we're going to start seeing interest rates getting back into the fives, which are going to allow opportunities for buyers. But really, they need to be looking at this as an opportunity where, okay, if I'm a buyer, what am I looking at here? Lower, pricing on homes, not dealing with multiple offers, and obviously more inventory to choose from, as opposed to the past couple of years. I mean, really what people should be doing is looking at the current market in comparison to 2019. I mean, that's where,
good.
The difference between, what's actually happening and what's not. And when you look at those numbers, I mean, really, especially our office, I mean, we're right there, if not performing better than we were in 2019.
And the part that's interesting is during the shutdown and people were having all these multiple offers and way overpaying and giving up their inspections and fighting tooth and nail for not hardly any houses. And now here we have houses and everything's on sale. And even the sellers, the sellers could benefit from the market right now because it's not as frenzied. People have time to think about the house they want to buy. And it just is a little bit more normal, but it's interesting because people are kind of dragging their feet, and this is like the time to do it.
It is, it's, I hate to, quote this, but I'm going to. I mean, Warren Buffett once said, hold on, how exactly is his phrase?
When everybody's running out of the room, you run in, or something like that.
When others are fearful.
Yes,
it's fearful. You know that saying. What I'm trying to get. I wish I knew the exact verbiage right now, but buyers, it's okay to, it's okay for sellers to put their homes on the market right now. I mean, it's perfectly fine to buy and sell at premium pricing. There's a lot of opportunity, and often what you'll see is that they end up with the same net seller equity. And, the other thing that people are just not really talking about right now, but really need to be mentioned, is how much equity people have in their homes.
Yeah.
Right? We're not looking at what we saw in 2008, 2009. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of equity in their homes, and they're also sitting on really low interest rates. And so I think ultimately people are not listing their homes because they're fearful. I think it's because they're sitting on such an incredible interest rate that, the idea of selling and then buying something different, they might be a bit more hesitant about it. But it's still happening. I mean, just last month, Alice, like our office alone closed almost 130 transactions, and we closed almost 60 million in sales volume.
Oh, so wow.
Things are still happening. Things are still happening. And I think it's just really important. And I cannot, emphasize this enough, that if you are in the market, if you're a buyer or you're a seller, you just need to talk to a real estate professional and get the facts. And, it's really important that, there is a place and a time and, for opportunity and for you to be successful in whatever you're trying to achieve.
I think that is such an important point, because the elements of the market are actually more in the favor of sellers, in my opinion, right now, because they have a place to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the very few people during the shutdown who were leaving one direction and going to a different market, or not going to own a home at all anymore, that's a very small percentage of who could really benefit from that hyperinflated market. This just feels more calm. It feels more even, and it's less friction for sellers. And people are not overpaying, because that messes with appraisals and plus they get cold feet. How many times do people overpay and then they cancel their transaction?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I hate to say this, but there is a lot of people calling in and, had bought in a house, maybe, sight unseen in the last couple of years.
Oh, that's right. They were doing that too.
Yes, a lot. And so I'm getting a lot of the, hey, I, am lifting up my bathroom, tile, and they found something under there and they weren't super happy about it. And so then, but they realized, oh, well, I also waived all my inspections. And, so, they're ultimately now looking at what can we do? What is my solution? And as a buyer in today's market, you've got a lot of advantages. And I also think that, they really need to get over that idea of these interest rates. I know some people might be kind of factored, or at least, priced out of the market because maybe they just can't financially afford, certain mortgage payments, and that, we need to take that into consideration, of course. But ultimately, there's a lot of different options out there, working with a lender and talking about what that looks like to get pre-approved, lock down interest rates, or a lot of sellers right now are offering owner carry options too.
That's coming back.
Loans. I mean, there's a lot of different interesting things that we just haven't seen in a while. And there is options, to make, their dreams come true by buying that dream property that they at one point, wanted. So,
and I really like what you said about, if you are in the market at all or want to be, there's so much opportunity that's not being talked about in the news. And it has to do with the good mortgage rate you have on the home you have, with all the equity you have. I'm watching people sell their home, get another one, and their mortgage is about the same.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter like what the rate is. I mean, it does, don't get me wrong, but you have to do the entire math problem. You have to finish the arithmetic, because I bet you'll find out your payment's not going to be much different. And then you're going to get the house you want.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of people, we're seeing a really, really huge increase in retirement, which is very interesting right now.
Oh, really? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I think ultimately this is kind of factored into a lot of different things. I think that anybody with, what I saw when I was pulling some statistics was anybody over the age of 65, we're seeing a huge increase in their retirement. I think a lot of that factors into maybe them seeing a dip in their 401ks, or what that might look like, in terms of how the economy is performing. And so when they start to see that, they might be considering, well, I was thinking of retiring in 2 or 3 years, but it might make more sense to retire now. And so they're kind of expediting that process. A lot more increase in, Medicare, and seeing what, enrollments have all really taken up like a huge amount of, applications that we've been seeing across the board. And I think what we're seeing is people downsizing now. Okay, well, I'm going to retire this year. And so I'm going to go ahead and downsize. And so I'm going to sell my house and then get into something much smaller. And so, but retirement just here in Jackson County was up 18.9% last month.
Last month? That is so interesting, because we do have a lot of older people, semi-retired, looking to retire, that live here. And wow, we'll have to watch that. We'll have to track that.
Yeah, I mean, I think just downsizing, or they want to be closer to their family now. I mean, a lot of different reasons why people might relocate and sell. But again, it's just seeing like what the trends are, and again, real life real estate.
Yeah, it's not the speculation market it was.
No, it's not.
Where you just sell your house and go live somewhere else, I guess, wait for the market to change. So now the market is changing, but people are, I think, not looking at the whole picture and the opportunity that's here. Because if you can get one of these great prices of one of these houses that's being discounted, and the seller's still making money because they have appreciation, they just don't have as much as they did 6 months ago.
Exactly.
But they still have plenty, and they still want to move. Gosh, and then you don't have to overpay as a buyer.
Yeah, you got a lot more options, a lot more inventory, and you got some negotiations again. You can still come in. So again, it's another reason, to connect with a real estate agent, because this is your opportunity to now negotiate. Sellers are motivated. If a house is listed right now on the market, they are motivated, and you can work with them and come to an agreement between both parties.
And we're watching offers being accepted 10, 15, 25, $50,000 under ask. So you just got to get out there and write those offers.
Yep, I know. I agree.
We're talking to Tiffany Wilkerson, the general manager of John L Scott, Ashland, Medford, Eugene. She is the captain of our ship. We're so happy to have her. We're going to have to take a quick break here to say thank you to our sponsors. We are gratefully brought to you by John L Scott, Ashland, and Medford. Thank you so much. Guy Gile Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, and our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, also known as RVAR. When you hear us say RVAR, we're not just making sounds. It's our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. This broadcast is going to be repeated tomorrow, Sunday at 6 p.m. So stay tuned for more information from Tiffany Wilkerson from John L Scott, Ashland, Medford, Eugene. We'll be right back. Well, hey, Southern Oregon, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. We're so happy to have you today. We're talking to Tiffany Wilkerson, the general manager of John L Scott, Ashland, Medford, and Eugene, but she is our fearless leader. Thank you for being on the show, Tiffany.
Thank you, Alice.
So talking about the market and how some of us feel that it's being misunderstood, that people are waiting for a big crash. But it's hard to watch all the economic indicators and still look at the data and then tell people, but we're still up in our prices from last year. We're still selling houses. How do you help explain to people, whether they're buying or selling, how to incorporate that information they're getting from the newscasters and compare that to what we're really seeing here in Southern Oregon?
Well, I think it's important to take note that while the economy will obviously have an impact on the real estate market is very different than most other industries, being as that we are very much geared, or we are affected by supply and demand. And so, it's something similar. There was a really interesting story that was presented at one of our office meetings a few weeks back, and it was about Disney. And that, we were seeing, a huge decline in prices and, various things across the globe with really big corporations. Well, and they were obviously taking, into consideration what the market was doing and specifically the economy. And when asked, will Disneyland and Disney World and everybody be, decreasing their prices? And the response was no. And we are affected by supply and demand, and there is still a huge demand for, the parks and, everything along those lines. And it was, that's just kind of, a little snippet of what that was like. But it was a really interesting article because it really did play into the similar, way that the real estate market is impacted. And so again, while our inventory is increasing, especially in certain price points, just even looking at Ashland specifically in our county and other areas, you got over $1 million, you're looking at 9.5 months of inventory, but still really anything under 500,000, you really still only have about 3 months of inventory. So, while it is definitely increasing than, what we've seen in comparison to the last couple of years, I've been really doing my due diligence of trying to compare everything to 2018, 2019, and, seeing really what that looks like, for the market and seeing what that cycle is going to look like. And I think that, especially if we see interest rates decline, which I do predict, coming in about March, April, I think that we're going to see, the market just starts to correct itself and shift, and we're going to be right back in it. So we're going to see this slowdown. We predicted this. Oh, there's going to be 2-3 months where everyone's going to completely panic. But the thing is, completely panic. But at the same time, just connecting with people and, seeing where they're at, financially, but also mentally. And a lot of people are, making moves, and kind of what you and I were talking about is we call it real life real estate. And there's always the reasons, diamonds, divorce, what is it? Diplomas, all these different reasons, death, unfortunately, things that occur in life that will force people to buy and sell and relocate. So that's where we are, is we're diving into real life real estate. And so, we're still seeing a lot of activity. We're still seeing a lot of, transitions in the market. And because you have to, people still have to buy, they still have to sell, and they still, need a real estate professional to guide them through that process, because it's not going to be the same for you. It won't be the same for me. I mean, it all is based on, income and how much equity they have in their home, and, what that looks like. But there's a lot of opportunity out there, and business is still being had.
When you were mentioning the real life real estate, that is such a great way of framing it. We're seeing a lot of divorces since we reopened. Are you hearing a lot? And I'm not like trying to focus on somebody's bad news, but it's like we normally have a certain amount. And then but right now, all the agents are talking, like everybody's readjusting their intimate life. And that has to do with their house.
I think, it's unfortunate. I wish I, had a better, thumb on, really what's going on with that. But you're right, Alice. I mean, like I said, we're seeing a huge increase in retirement. We're seeing a huge increase in divorce rates. And let's just be honest for a minute, take into consideration what the last couple of years has been like for a lot of people. And I think, there's been a lot of turmoil. There's been a lot of stress. And I think the market and the economy right now, while, the real estate market might be being impacted in one way, that doesn't mean all industries are being impacted the same. And I know that, we might be seeing a lot of job loss. I mean, let's look at Facebook, and let's look at these big corporations that are laying off hundreds of thousands of people. And so you don't know what that's going to look like and how that impacts somebody in their personal life. But again, kind of going along those lines, we're training, and I'm training our agents that you need to connect with people right now. And I mean, this is a great opportunity, especially during the holidays. But even if you don't celebrate the holidays, even if you don't celebrate Christmas or anything like that, hey, hey, Alice, I just, I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a while. I just want to see how you're doing. We just get so busy throughout the year, and this is the one time, for us to be able to really take into consideration, to call your clients, call your family, call your friends, and just touch base and have a genuine conversation with them. I think that technology and, the devices we have and social media and all the negativity that we're constantly surrounded by, people crave human connection. They really, really do. You need to be able to, and I think that for years now, we've been really void of that. And it's like reestablishing it, I think, is a lot harder than some people have anticipated. We just had our holiday party, and it was wonderful, or I guess our year-end celebration, and it was wonderful. It was so good to see everybody again. And we've been slowly incorporating a lot of different events, and our office is getting busier and busier, and all of our Tuesday meetings and everything are, packed. But at the same time, I think it's taking some people, some time to get acclimated again to being around people and being in large groups, and, just kind of feeling, that vibe and understanding like how to have a genuine conversation with somebody and look them in the eyes and hear their voice and see their mannerisms and their expressions. It's, it's tough.
Yeah. And it's important. And it's been 3 years now since, we've had this option of being with each other and spending time with each other. And a lot can happen in an adult person's life. And that frequently means they need to make some changes in their location or where they live. And it's not like the real estate agents are pounding for business, but this idea of going back and just humanly connecting with our community just reminds everybody that we're here to help, we're here to serve.
Yes, we are. And we have a great organization just within our office. The Medford Earth Angels is an organization, a nonprofit that was developed, way before my time by the great Jimmy DeLoretto and his wife, Mary West. And what it is it's actually a board compiled of a lot of our agents that are actually here at John L Scott. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them, and they do some incredible things for our community. And currently, every Thanksgiving and Christmas, what they do is families in need right here in Jackson County. They have presents, and we take up our whole upper floor of our training room, and there's tons of gifts that come in, and every family has a number, and every family gets a box, like a banana box, just filled with stuffing and turkey and potatoes and onion, and I mean, it's just packed with stuff, pie. And then in addition to the boxed food meal that they get, they also have a list of how many kids are within every family. And so then upstairs, we get a bunch of volunteers, and our agents come and support and just help wrap everything up. And then every family has a number. So what they do is they'll come by the office, and we have kind of this assembly line, and we're bringing things down, and a family will be able to drive up, and maybe they have number 9, right? And so then they get a box of their food, and then number 9 is also associated with, 2 or 3 children, 1 boy, 2 girls ages. And so they get the matching presents that go along with that family. And I mean, and just being a part of something like that, or at least just witnessing all the time and the effort that goes into supporting, I mean, over 100 families, possibly even more. I know it's grown every single year, is such a cool thing to see. And there's such a need for it. But it really, I think the biggest thing that I love is just the compassion that, it shares. And I think every one of our agents ends that day, while everyone's exhausted by, just the events, it's so good and it's so heartfelt. And I think everybody, just has that moment of, wanting to support, those that are in need, and just, make their lives better, at least for a day.
Yeah. And a lot of the agents help fund that. Earth Angels out of their commission checks. They also volunteer, and they do other donations. So, and that's quite a few. That's grown to 100 or 200 dinners that are donated just to our local folks. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And again, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, Alice. It's the Medford Earth Angels is funded by a lot of our agents who have over the years contributed percentages of their commission checks to the organization. And they've, like I said, they've done some really wonderful things. And it's not just this year, to the end of the year event. They've done, taken care of health costs for families. Our agents can submit applications for somebody that they may have met,
on behalf of somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And, I know they've bought cars for people, single moms.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's amazing. They've done some really, really, really beautiful things. And I think it's really cool to see, what that looks like. So.
And I think they stepped in pretty heavily during the fires, as did the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. Yeah. So we have been through so much in just a few years. I mean, if you stop and think, and now we're trying to go on as normal.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, honestly, Alice, you got to look at it every single year. And, it's like you have, the COVID and the fires and, be honest, all the political things that we were seeing and, with just everything in the world. And I think at some point, you become, just exhausted by it. And it's very hard, to come out of that kind of a funk. And so, I mean, I personally, I try to stay very positive with not just the agents in the office, but also my family and my kids, and, just come from a place of being helpful and supportive, and just be kind. The biggest thing, honestly, is just be kind to people, touch base with them, smile, send a warm note, a text message, a simple phone call, whatever that looks like. But I think agents really have a benefit of, not only having a reason to reach out, maybe for the market and the industry and what's happening, but really just connect, just talk and check in with people,
just see how everybody is after all of this. Yeah. It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
No,
ever.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And it's needed more than ever right now.
Yeah.
In our world. And I really, truly do believe that very much.
Mm-hmm. And how is, so John L Scott had a really good month last month, and we could brag a little bit. How are we doing this year?
This year, we're still looking pretty good. So we have, I think I was working on some of the statistics here. We are roughly around 2,700 transactions, and we have closed almost 1.4 billion in sales.
Wow. So, just John L Scott?
Yes. And just Medford, Ashland, and Eugene. So just our office. I think something that's pretty cool, and we ranked again in the top 500 for companies nationwide. I mean, that is incredible.
Oh, that is amazing. Yay for us. I'm not
just talking about John L Scott, like the company or the corporate, office. I'm talking about our franchise right here in Southern Oregon, ranked in the top
Oh,
500.
I am going to cry. That's amazing. Not
It
only
is.
because we're just a Northern California company. And now you're saying just the Medford office is helping that many people buy and sell. Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And especially in like a year where I was mentioning he was getting corrected, this year we're seeing, that intensity adjustment that Lennox, our CEO talks about a lot. But really, we've had a very, very good year. We're on track, for just another record. And I think it's incredible.
That is amazing. We're talking to Tiffany Wilkerson, the general manager of John L Scott, Ashland, Medford, Eugene. Lots and lots of great stuff. Do not touch that dial. We've got more with Tiffany right after a word from our sponsors. Don't go away. Well, welcome back to the Real Estate Show, folks. I'm Alice Lema. I'm here with Tiffany Wilkerson from John L Scott. So, Tiffany, John L Scott, I don't think people realize the backstory of this company.
Yeah, I know. Well, especially here in Southern Oregon, because we're a big company, right? I mean, we're not the biggest company anymore in terms of agent count, but we're definitely the most productive. So, in terms of per agent productivity, our agents average anywhere from 14 to 16 transactions a piece, which is incredible.
A year, yeah, and I think the national average is way lower, isn't it?
Oh yeah, like 2 or 3. So, I mean, yeah, no, our agents.
So two or three for a year, national average. John L Scott agents.
14
How
to
many?
16, 14 to 16 transactions. So our per agent productivity is incredible. And a lot of that is a testament to their experience, to their knowledge, to their professionalism.
Well, and the training that John L Scott offers is incredible.
Yeah, a lot of accountability, a lot of good training. We got some incredible coaching, but I think the biggest thing is, honestly, our John L Scott's been in business for almost 100 years. I mean, that's something you got to take into consideration. And while our, I guess, company might be founded on maybe traditional values, which is, relationships and connectivity and, living life as a contribution is our motto. I think it's really important to note it because it works. And people, again, I mentioned this earlier in the show, people crave human connectivity and they really want to engage and, be around each other. So we at the office have built an atmosphere of, social events and working together as a team and not necessarily in competition with one another. I was interviewing one of our agents not very long ago, and she said something that was so interesting. A question had been asked to her, well, I'm sure you probably go side by side and go into listing competitions with other John L Scott agents. And how do you handle that? If you guys are offering something similar, well, she said something along the lines of, I'm either going to be a good fit or I'm not. And a lot of it comes down to personality. And a lot of it comes down to, whether or not we can connect and I'm the right person for you. And if I'm not, and you find that this other agent is, I think it's just incredible that you're interviewing another John L Scott agent. And because no matter what, no matter whom you choose, you're going to be in good hands. And I think,
exactly.
And taking that approach of just, that family feel and being supportive of one another and helping each other, throughout, our careers is really a big testament to, I think, why this company is so successful. I love Tuesday mornings, getting up there and there's music playing, got Jim and I, and, doing our little song and dance. And really just seeing all the smiling faces and the familiar, camaraderie and the conversations and the laughter. And I just think it's so cool, for all of us to come together, especially in good times and in bad times, and get through things together. And I think that the training that has followed suit is you treat your clients the same way. Be there and support them. And so the company morals in general, I mean, John L Scott is a third family generation owned company too. So Lennox Scott, J Lennox. So the John L Scott, the L stands for Lennox. So his great grandfather went by John L Scott, but he prefers to go by Lennox. And what I think is really, really neat is under Lennox is actually, he's got some daughters, Stephanie and Savannah, and I hope I'm not missing one. But, it's, I've had an opportunity to meet them and, especially work alongside her, and she's up and coming. She's innovative and different. And I love seeing, the growth of the office and the support of that family feel. I mean, we're only located in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and the very, very, very northern tip of California, Siskiyou County, like very northern tip. But we're one of the founding members of leading real estate companies of America. So while we have this Pacific Northwest vibe and this feel to our company, we are nationally, not just nationally recognized, globally recognized. Because throughout luxuryportfolio.com and the Wall Street Journal, I mean, any of our listings that are factored over 900,000 automatically fall into that category. So our agents have the ability of providing their sellers with reports of listings that have been shown in Asia and Europe and just these, beautiful areas. And so we have the resources. We're leaders in technology, but we really, the main thing that we primarily focus on as a company is supporting one another, friendships and genuine relationships. And I think that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. And being a consultant. And that is one of the beautiful things about this business model that John L Scott has. And a lot of the real estate companies have. To be a real estate agent now, you are a helper. You're not a salesperson, and you're there to get somebody from where they are to where they need to be with the least amount of stress as possible. Because even on a good day, it's hard to buy and sell houses. And then now you have this weird world that we're living in. But it's still happening. It's still getting done.
I've said this before, you're working with sometimes 90% of most people's personal assets. And, it's a very, very personal transaction. And I think that's sometimes what, we as agents need to focus on primarily is while we have a job to do and, we're going to be the professional and guide them throughout, everything that, they're currently dealing with. We wear a lot of hats. We are their therapist, we're their counselor, we're their real estate agent, we're their lender, we're all the things. And I think that really comes into play with how are we approachable? Are we relatable? And when I'm working with agents on marketing, I got a big marketing background. A lot of it is, well, your stats are there. You've got the numbers, you've got the proven experience under your belt, but who are you? Like, how can somebody relate to you? What are your interests and what are your hobbies and how can that relate to them? Because I think somebody is going to feel the most comfortable working with somebody that they know has their back and has integrity and is honest and loyal. And so those are some really important traits, with agents that fortunately we definitely have here at John L Scott. Yeah.
We also have a really big and hearty support staff, and they care deeply about every transaction, every agent, every client. Can you speak a little bit about the staff at John L Scott?
Yes, they're wonderful. So we've got an incredible support staff. We've got 2 listing coordinators, a staff manager. We have an in-house accounting team. We have transaction management. We have an incredible front receptionist who's bilingual, speaks multiple languages in both Ashland and in Medford. We have sign guys, and that I think is one of the coolest things that I've done. There are many other offices that. But we actually have guys that will go out and put your yard signs out for you, and they will also take them away, and they'll put out directionals. And, on occasion when they hit that sprinkler line because they didn't mean to, they're also the handyman.
Or if they blow over, they'll go out and put them back.
They will go way out of their way to support, our agents, make sure they're out there on the field, they're getting what they need. But first and foremost, I really do think that one of the biggest assets to our company is our marketing tech team. We have an incredibly robust.
Oh, it's so extensive. Yeah. Amazing.
Full on media company back there. I mean, we're talking custom brands, billboards, vehicle wraps, commercials. There's a recording studio. It's called JLSSO Studios for them to be able to pop in there, film a couple things and get it out there. I mean, just having the resource of being able to say, hey, just email in and can I get a couple things done? I got a listing I can't really figure out how to sell. They'll run Google advertisements. And it's just an incredible, really robust team. There's 3 graphic designers, a videographer. We have a marketing kind of admin that handles all 3 of our print vendors, making sure that everything's just constantly running smoothly in the project queue. We have custom website designers. So our agents are supported in so many different ways because, again, we want them to focus on their clients. Whenever I'm hiring a staff member, and like I said, there's about 18 staff members here just internally.
That's remarkable.
It is. It's incredible. And they all do such a fantastic job, and they're all really close friends too. So, but again, their main focus is, to support the agents who sell real estate. And, it's just a great vibe.
Yeah, well, for such a local company, we really pack a big wallop in the technology department and also in the caring department. So yeah, we're very thankful and proud to be working for John L Scott.
Great. Yeah, no, it's a good company, and honestly, I'm looking forward to 2023. I'm ready.
Well, we'll have to have you back on so we can talk about that. Have a beautiful weekend, folks. Bye now.